Hello everybody, this is Bev Clarkovision. This is my response video that I've been wanting to do to Steve at Headbanging Zulu UK for the Get Your Covers Out thread. Well, I don't know if it was meant to be a thread, but it's a thread now because I'm responding to it. So, he put up a video, I don't know, a few days ago about cover versions of songs, and basically kind of just discussed a wee bit about some of them that he has or that he's got in his collection or he's heard of or whatever. And the basic debate is, what do you think of covers, and do you like them or hate them, or are they better than the original, some of them, and whatnot. And so I don't want to kind of babble on too much if I can, because I've actually listed 15 songs I'm going to mention. Well, actually 16, because there's one here which is, I mentioned this in another thread, which I did a couple of weeks back. It was going around, and that was name 3 cover versions that are better than the originals. So to get things started off, this was one here, and I borrowed this single because it's from my dad's collection. That's where I first heard the song, and I honestly can't remember if I heard this version before I heard the original. Now it's, the band is The Tourists. I don't know how well you can make that out, and the track is I Only Want to Be With You. Original was done by, is it Dusty Springfield, I think, back in the 60s. And I prefer this version, basically because it's more of a rocky version. I just love the guitar in it. I think it's sung really well. It's Annie Lennox as the singer. Her and Dave Stewart formed this band, who were previously something else, and then after this they went on to form the Eurythmics. So this was recorded in 1979, this version of I Only Want to Be With You, and I think it's a really good cover. So that was the first one. Right, getting on to the ones from that I've marked out specifically for this video. There's a song out there called Hush, and it appeared on the debut, if I've got my facts straight, from Deep Purple in 1968, Shades of Deep Purple. And I went and double checked, and yeah, I couldn't remember the vocalist at the time, because I knew it wasn't who's the most popular singer for Deep Purple? I can't remember, but anyway, the singer on this particular track is Rod Evans. And this band, Gotthard, they do a cover version of that song on their debut, which is this one, self-titled Gotthard from 1992. And I think it's a really good version. Now, I've always talked up Gotthard. Their early stuff with the singer Steve Lee is fantastic. They're a Switzerland band, straight up hard rock, traditional style band. They've been around since about 1992. And they've got, so obviously Hush is on here. I think it's track 4. You probably can't make that out very clearly, but this is a really good version. Do I think it's better than the original? Possibly. For me, I would say yes, but I guess a lot of people would probably think the original's the best, which I can understand, but for me, not really being into Deep Purple at all, I heard them sing this live. They do a live version of Hush on this album, actually, and it's phenomenal. They really rock it up a bit, you know. So it's a solid rocky song. So that's one which I recommend. So also the same band, Gotthard, I'll just show this album for reference. They also did a cover of the song The Mighty Quinn, who it was originally made famous by Manfred Mann back in the 70s. Apparently, though, it was written by Bob Dylan, I believe, but Manfred Mann were the first to get success with that song in the 70s. I believe. Now, Gotthard do a cover of that song on their album G. It's just the letter G. And I don't have that album, so I've only heard the live version, which is also on this. They actually do 3 live covers on this. This is a live album. But I've listened to the album version on YouTube, and again, Gotthard do a really good job of that. I love the Gotthard version. Steve Lee is a phenomenal singer in his own right. Not many people, I think, kind of know Gotthard that well, unless you're kind of in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, mainland Europe is where they were really big. But it's a band, you know, you should really check them out if you haven't. Definitely worth it, especially the earlier stuff. So this, as I say, Mighty Quinn on their album G from, now it's 1996 is Gotthard's album G. If you happen to want to look for it, I am currently looking for that album myself. And the live version as well, as I say, just like Hush, they do a great version of that live as well. So, and the third one, also Gotthard. Now I'm just going to throw this one in. I don't know if they ever did a studio cover. I don't think it appears on any of their studio albums, but on this again, the third cover track that they do is an encore right, the very last song. And I've mentioned this before, and it's Led Zeppelin's Immigrant song that they do. And, you know, you can debate about whether it's better than the original, but I mean, it's a live version, so it's kind of different anyway. But I can tell you this much, it is the best live version of that song done by anybody apart from Led Zeppelin themselves. It is a superb version, and again, Steve Lee gets up there and hits the Robert Plant highs, you know, effortlessly. So again, that's another one. So the next one, I also mentioned this song in my previous covers video, and I'll mention it again because I have to, because it is the best cover of this song, and it's better than the original in my opinion. So it's on Swagger. The band's is Gun, and the song is Word Up, originally done by Cameo, 1986. They're a US kind of funk band apparently, and I never liked the original song. But when Gun got a hold of it, they transformed it into a rock masterclass with just chunky, full, heavy guitar sound, you know. They are a solid hard rock band, and the guy that sings, I forget his name. I always forget the guy's name who sings on this album, but I'm going to find out for you right now. That's the singer there. Mark Rankin is the guy's name, the singer. Yeah, that's him on the floor there in that picture. So he has a phenomenal voice. He's got a very powerful, yet there's just a kind of a bit of a unique sing to his voice. You know, it's just, but that version of Word Up is absolute class. It's turned into a gem of a rock track. So I would recommend, if you haven't listened to that, do listen to it. And some people, when I mentioned this in my last video, mentioned, was it Slipknot? Somebody like that did a cover. I had no idea, because bands from that era just, you know, they might as well not exist for me, because I just wasn't interested. I wasn't really listening to music at that time, so I can't comment on that version, but all I know is this is gold. So that's that one. Next, fairly recently, I learned that there was a cover of this song, another 80s pop hit by Falco, Rock Me Amadeus, and it's on this album by Ed Guy. Now, Ed Guy and Avantasia, Tobias Sammet. Tobias Sammet must like doing a cover here and there, because there's usually I've noticed there's a couple of covers popping up here and there. And Avantasia's featuring further on in this video. So for this one, it's Me Amadeus. It's the 6th track, written by Bolland and Bolland, and this was, where's my notes here? 1985, it hit the charts. So just getting rid of them. And the pop version, if you've probably all heard it, those of you who were around in the 80s. Good song, but again, Edguy turned this into a nice rocked up kind of solid sounding record. I think they do a very good job of that song. Is it better than the original? It's kind of different from the original. When covers are a bit different, it's hard to kind of say. I like the original, but I also like the cover, so I'm not really sure. But they just do it's a very well done cover, I think, on Space Police, if you want to check it out. Going back to the Gotthard ones, I said I personally preferred Hush from Gotthard. Mighty Quinn, I think I personally prefer the Gotthard version of that as well. I wouldn't say I prefer Gotthard's version of Immigrant Song because it was a live cover versus a studio song, but it is in itself fantastic. And obviously the Gun one is miles better than the original. So the next one we move on to, again, it's just a very recent release. It's on here, Biff Byford's School of Hard Knocks, which I just acquired the other week. And it's the song Scarborough Fair, track 6. This is the first kind of rocked up version of this song that I've heard, Scarborough Fair. Now, I was checking Wikipedia, and they reckon that origins of the original Scarborough Fair can be dated as far back as 1670. And it's deemed as a traditional English ballad from the sort of Middle English period or something. I don't know what they're talking about exactly, but and it refers to a similar song, something to do with an elf, if I get it, which was like a Scottish version of Scarborough Fair or something. Blah 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 blah. There's a whole load of writing about it. But one of the earliest covers of that song by somebody well known was Simon and Garfunkel. They did a version in 66, is that I've got here? Yeah. And there's been a few versions of it. But this one, for me, is a really nice version. I've heard one or two versions of it. I even had when I was at guitar lessons many years ago, I think that was a song I was trying to learn on the guitar, which was kind of like the nylon string finger style. So I'm aware of the song Scarborough Fair, obviously. But this is really, really well done. I think Biff deserves 10 out of 10 for his performance in this. It's a fantastic version. It is a ballad, it starts off nice and slow, and he brings in the band, obviously, and you've got the guitars in there, but it's not over the top, it's very nicely done. So I would say, I don't even know what the original version is, but I would say this is a really good cover of Scarborough Fair. So that's that one. And back to Tobias Sammet now. So on Moonglow, one of my favourite albums on recent times ever, 2019, they have on here, there is a cover version of the song Maniac by Michael Cimbello. Is that his name? Yeah, I think. So Michael Cimbello recorded Maniac, and it appeared on the movie soundtrack for Flashdance in 1983. That is that song. She's a maniac, blah 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 blah. It was an okay song. It was a typical 80s dancey pop groove thing, you know, of the time. And so when I saw this was on here, initially I was quite surprised, but again, it's a really well done version. This is kind of rocked up, you know, you've got the guitars in here and solid drums. I think the vocals on this particular song are shared between Tobias Sammet and, is it Bob Catley that does this? Maybe, hang on. So Maniac, no, it's Eric Martin, I beg your pardon. So Eric Martin from Mr. Big and Tobias Sammet share the vocals on this version of Maniac. Lyrics there. And again, I think it's a really good version. From an 80s pop song, they've turned it into what you might term as a rock classic. And it fits in well with the rest of this album. It's not too out of place sounding, because I think they've kind of orchestrated it up a bit to you know, obviously be similarly arranged as the rest of this album. So again, well, it's a pop song. If you want a rock version of Maniac, go and have a listen. So yeah, I'd probably say I prefer Avantasia's version. Next one, we've got Thunder's album here, Backstreet Symphony, and they do a cover of Gimme Some, is it Gimme Some Lovin'? Aye, that's the one. Gimme Some Lovin', cover song. This was originally done by the Spencer Davis Group back in the 60s. And I don't know, did it feature in the Blues Brothers movie? But I seem to think the Blues Brothers when I hear the original of that song. And Thunder do a very good cover of this. I mean, this whole album's pretty decent. It's kind of it's a bluesy kind of feel to the song anyway, so Thunder just enhance it a bit blues rock in their heavier guitar rock sound. Again, it's not the greatest song I've ever, you know, it's not one of my favourite songs as such, but I don't mind it, and I do think Thunder do a pretty decent job of this. It's not my worst song on the album. Actually, no. I can't remember what my least favourite song. It might be Distant Thunder. I can't remember how that one goes even. I maybe got to the point where I would stop listening to it before that because it's the last song. But honestly, yeah, it's pretty decent. However, I would go and suggest that maybe the original 60s version was probably the better one, I think. So next, again, excuse me a moment, we've got another fairly new cover, and it appears on the recent last year release EP from Running Wild, Crossing the Blades. It is a cover of Kissies' song Strutter, which I believe appeared on their debut back in '74, I think I've got down here. So I've listened to it, and I've listened to the Kiss version to refresh my memory. I had heard it once, but I couldn't recall too well how it went. And what I can say about this one is, although Running Wild have done a pretty decent cover, it is decent. I would say I think I prefer Kissies' original on this one, so it's not bad. But I don't think it's a song that really suits Running Wild, to be honest with you. That's maybe what it is. It's just kind of a song that a little bit different styled to what Running Wild normally do. Excuse me. But yeah, it's not bad. That's that one. Next, I thought I would include this Action from Def Leppard. Now the only reason I own this is because I bought it at the time in 1993 or whatever it was when it came out, 93 or 94, before I had decided to quit on this band totally. So Def Leppard covered The Sweets' Action, which was originally released in 75 by The Sweet, and I don't particularly like the glam bands of the 70s, The Sweet, Mott the Hoople, Slade. I'm not a huge fan of these bands at the best of times. So the original song, Action, it really wasn't a song I particularly liked, but I would say when Def Leppard's version came out, this appeared on the soundtrack to Last Action Hero, I wasn't impressed either. It's pretty lame, if you want to use an American term. But yeah, I would say this is a fairly poor effort. It's very Def Leppard-y, it's very Adrenalize-y in terms of sound, production, tones and all that kind of stuff. And Joe Elliott's voice, he's got a very distinctive voice, and I don't think he has the best voice for covering other songs, to be honest, but there you go, that's just my opinion. So no, it's very clinical and robotic sounding, so quite awful. I would say avoid that one, that's my opinion. So now we're on to the last 5 of the 15. 3 from one band and 2 from another. So Hammerfall, yeah, Sweden's power metal, one of Sweden's power metal bands. So Hammerfall released, this is a 20-year anniversary edition of Legacy of Kings, and it's a box set with bonus stuff included, and it includes some tracks from, including covers from an album they did. They did an album called Masterpieces back in 2008, which was as a covers album and a tribute to some of their influences and heroes of days gone by. So what they do on here, there's 3 tracks that Hammerfall cover. So the first one up is Back to Back by Pretty Maids. They do a cover of that. Now Back to Back appears on Pretty Maids' debut, Red Hot and Heavy. And Hammerfall's version is very good. Excellent version. Although I would say Pretty Maids is better. I think it's just down to the vocals more so. Ronnie Atkins has a great voice. It's a bit gruff sounding in places, and yet it can be smooth and clear at the same time. So it's as if he can turn that gruffness on and off when he needs to. Whereas the Hammerfall singer's much clearer, smoother sounding. But, you know, apart from that, you know it's a different singer. Generally, they do a very good musical version of Back to Back, so that's worth checking out. It's available on YouTube. Then also on here, they do a copy of I Want Out from Halloween. Again, it's good. The music is really good. The guitars are excellent, but it's not Halloween and it's not Michael Kiske. And, you know, again, these songs, they have distinctive vocalists singing on the originals, and so it's the same kind of thing. It's Michael Kiske's voice. It starts off kind of low for him, and you know how he can just up and down the octaves and all the rest of it at the flick of a switch. So again, it's really good, but not quite the original. But again, it's worth a listen. It's a very decent cover. And the third one I'm going to mention, I mean, they do more than just 3 on here. There's Accept, which I'm not going to mention. There's Rainbow. There's a Rainbow. But the third one I am going to mention is Judas Priest. And I know, Steve, if you're watching this one, you'll love to hear about this song, Breaking the Law. They do a cover of Breaking the Law. Again, it's a very good cover. But this one, I would say, the three that I'm talking about here is the weakest, or not the best out of the three. It's not bad, but Judas Priest's original is better, and again, you know, Rob Halford, it's good. So I would say, yeah, Breaking the Law from Hammerfall, nah, it's not too good. It's just okay, it's not horrible, but there is other covers that are better, as in their cover of Back to Back is better than their cover of Breaking the Law. But they're worth a listen. And lastly, the final two songs are both from this band, Powerwolf. They did a similar thing to Hammerfall, and in 2015 they released an album called Metallium Nostrum, which was the same time as they released their studio album Blessed and Possessed, and this is the 2-disc set, which I kindly got from Metal Mickey. And Metallium Nostrum is in here as well as Blessed and Possessed. And again, this is like a cover versions album in tribute to their heroes. And on this one, they do a cover of, well, they do loads of covers, but the two I've picked out, one is The Evil That Men Do, from the Mighty Maiden. Now, I'm thinking, how could anybody replicate Maiden and make it sound half decent? But actually, Powerwolf do make it sound half decent, and I'm not kidding. I was surprised at how well they pulled that off. Even the guitar tones are very similar to Adrian and Dave's guitars on the original. The solo is very close to the original. It's not quite, you know, it's not exact and it's not better, but it's very, very close. And the singer on Powerwolf, he does a good vocal job, and he's not Bruce Dickinson, but he makes it work. He seems to make it work a bit better than the Hammerfall singer does, I think. So I was very impressed with their version of The Evil That Men Do. Definitely worth a listen. But it's not, can't top the original. And the other one I picked out from here was Running Wild's Conquistadors. They do a cover of that, which is one of my favourite Running Wild songs, and that appears on Port Royal. Again, I was very impressed. Very impressed. The guitars, you know, the guitars are spot on. They're up to speed. They're not lagging behind. There's nothing, you know, because they're both quite fast songs. I think Conquistadors is slightly faster, tempo-wise, than The Evil That Men Do, but they're spot on, and they do, again, it's not the original, and it's, you know, it's not Rock and Rolf that's singing. It's the Powerwolf singer, but again, he's a really good vocalist, and it works. It's very good, but I still prefer the original. But out of all of these, Powerwolf are up there with some of the best covers I've heard. So that is my take, and this has gone up to half an hour nearly again, so I'm very sorry, but you know me, I have to you know, I guess it's about 2 minutes a song if there's 15 I've listed, plus, you know, the tourists here. So that was my take. On the whole, I'm not a huge cover version person. I like original songs from bands, especially my favourite bands. If I hear a band say, oh god, they did a cover, this is going to be silly, then, so, you know, however, there is the odd cover that beats the original, as in Gun, for example, and what was the other one that I mentioned? The Tourists, but these are just personal opinions. So it's one of these things. So that's my take on covers, but I'd rather bands focused on their own writing material. But, you know, a cover, you know, covers are covers, and, you know, they have their place, I guess. Anyway, enough of my chat. So thanks for watching, and I've got a link below to Steve's original video on the covers thread. Show your covers or get your covers out. So if you want to check out his video, please do, and I'll see you all later. Bye just now.